Y'all, that white folks, namely white conservatives in America, do not want to see black folks getting ahead. There's a constant targeting of anything that benefits black people and other minorities. Ed Blum, a white conservative out of Texas, has been on the warpath challenging anything in this country that he deems discriminatory and he calls race-based. He was the guy behind the affirmative action case that the Supreme Court decided that outlawed affirmative action in the use of college admissions. On the heels of that, he is now targeting not just law firms, but also targeting a black women-focused venture capital fund out of Atlanta. It is called the Fearless Fund. It was created by Arian Simone, Ayana Parsons, and actress Keshia Knight Pulliam. Their goal is to award $20,000 grants, $20,000 in grants, digital tools, and mentorship opportunities for black women entrepreneurs in partnership with Mastercard. Now keep in mind, y'all, in the venture capital space, okay, less than 2% goes to black people. In the private equity space, less than 2% goes to black people. And so we are grossly underrepresented. So we're not talking about a lot of money out there. But white guys like Ed Blum goes, oh, this is discriminatory against white people. So y'all get damn near the 98%, but you bitching about the less than 2%. Gotcha. Now, here's what he's also doing. He literally is using the 1866 Civil Rights Act against black people. This was the same act that was passed in the wake of the Civil War. It was one of the Reconstruction, first of all, the Reconstruction Amendments, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments. This was one of the bills that was there to assist black folks when it came to being able to do business in America. He's now trying to say, oh, this is really hurting white people. Yeah, that's what's going on. Folks, the CEO of the Fearless Fund, Arian Simone, and the general partner, Ayana Parsons, they join me right now to discuss this particular lawsuit. Glad to have both of you here. Y'all have been doing a number of media interviews around the country, talking to a variety of people. And so, first of all, I just got to get, what was your initial reaction to Ed Blum's lawsuit?
Our initial reaction, I actually thought we were being punked by ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. We received emails from the press contacting our staff saying, hey, we'd like you to comment on this lawsuit. And I said, oh, this is a joke. So initially, we did not believe it was real. But the second we did, of course, we lawyered up and had to proceed accordingly. And we plan to continue to do all the wonderful work that we do. But yes, initially, we didn't believe that this was real.
So we're talking here again about a fund that was created. Y'all started it when?
In 2018, 2019, about 4.5 years now. It's built by women of color for women of color. So we actually invest in all women of color, not just African American. We have our investment vehicle, which is one business that we run, and we also have our foundation. And through our foundation, we have grant programs, education programs that come out of there. But our investment vehicle is backed by Bank of America, Ally Bank, Mastercard, JP Morgan Chase, PayPal Ventures, Costco, and a host of others where we do investment capital.
And Roland, I just might add that
yeah, go ahead.
4 years, we have invested more than $26 million in over 40 companies. And we've also awarded more than $3 million worth of grants through our foundation and over 300 companies. So it is significant, I think, the impact that we've made. And it's just a small dent that we put in the ecosystem.
Well, and that's the point I want to make right there, because and again, I'm not trying to diminish. You said 26 million and 4 million, correct?
26 million and 3 million. That's right.
Gotcha. 26 million, 26 million, 3 million. So it's 29 million. And so I'm not trying to diminish that. But I need the public to understand how much money we're talking about total that goes out in the venture capital world. What's that number?
Last year of 2022, over $280 billion. And we work in a $62 trillion.
Okay, hold on. Both talking at the same time. Simone first, go ahead.
In 2022, over $280 billion was deployed in venture capital. Women of color saw only 0.39% of that. In the industry we work in of PE and VC, it's a $62 trillion industry.
And see, that right there, Arian, is the point I want to focus on. We're talking $280 billion. And you gave the number for black women. If you throw in black men, we still won't even get to 1.5% total. But the goal here is, well, the Ed Blums of the world is to specifically even shut down these avenues because, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really believe, Arian, I don't believe that y'all are actually his target. I believe the companies who you work with are his targets, and that's what they are trying to go after.
I can definitely say that this lawsuit is not about us. It is, and I'll let Ayana go ahead, but it's not about us. It's about an attack on our economic freedom and our economic progress. Go ahead, Ayana.
No, you're absolutely right. Roland, this is so much bigger than us. I mean, he's come after higher education. He's come after venture capital, but he's going after employment. He's going after DEI in the corporate sector. He's going after internship programs, scholarship programs. In fact, he may be going after our HBCUs. So this is so much bigger than us.
And he's already instilled the fear. The fear, when the lawsuit was filed right after the SBA 8A program, it is halted. So you're looking at minority grant programs halted. You're looking at minority certifications halted. It's all on pause, and it's a fear tactic. So no, it's not an attack on us at all.
Well, on the federal level, what they're doing is they, first of all, are trying to determine the impact of a Supreme Court affirmative action decision in these other areas. Now, to me, that's stupid because that decision was specific to colleges and universities. And so, and what they're trying to do, what the Blum is trying to do, the Stephen Millers of the world they're trying to do, they've already tried to go to Kellogg, 16 Republican attorneys generals sent letters to about 100 different companies. They've sent letters to law firms as well. And so, yeah, they want to go after all of them. And I gave a speech the other day to the Business Council in Milwaukee. And I said, this is the moment where we are going to need to see if white corporate executives are real allies. If these white corporate executives are going to look the Ed Blums of the world in the eye and say, y'all can go to hell. We are doing these programs. This is not public dollars here. We're not talking about, so we're dealing with companies who can create such programs. They want to go after the entire ecosystem that has created, and it's not like it's been great, but has created the opportunity for African Americans to be able to participate in fellowships, in scholarships, in colleges, in being able to be entrepreneurs, and they don't even like that.
That's right. I mean, this is about economic freedom and opportunity, and you shut off that access like Ed Blum is trying to do and intimidate us. It has resounding effects and impacts for generations to come. And that's why, as we talked at the March on Washington this past weekend, that it is truly a state of emergency, and we need everyone to understand how much bigger this is than the Fearless Fund.
I'm curious. I'm curious to know because I'm always about who's standing. So, Arian, I'll start with you. I'm curious to know. Black Economic Alliance? Executive Leadership Council, these other different groups, have they reached out to y'all? Are they saying, hey, we're going to be standing 10 toes down with y'all? Are you receiving phone calls? Are you receiving emails from other groups who are saying, we are not going to let them go after you alone? We're standing with you. Is that happening?
Yes, we've received many phone calls, many emails, many people who are standing in solidarity with us. You will see more mobilization coming soon, but many people have definitely come to say, we support you and we stand with you on this issue. Even as of recent, Forbes reported about how 70 venture capital firms came together and said, you know what, we stand with the Fearless Fund. We don't think that this is right. We are in solidarity with them, and many others are coming to the table as well, too. So that has definitely been a blessing, and we are grateful for all of them. And a lot of people have also signed our petition at www.fearlessfreedomnow.org, and they've reached out through our website as well to join the fight.
What do you, for the folks who are watching, the folks who are listening, what is it that you would like for them to do? What would you like for them to? Because again, as a point that I'm making, this thing is not just about you. It's also about the much larger issue that's going on here. And I keep saying this to our people, and people are like, oh man, you're frightening people. No, I'm not. I really want people to understand that this thing is major. This thing is far-reaching. We literally are talking about the future economic mobility of Black America.
That's right, Roland. And just to echo Arian's comments, we want everyone to get informed. The way you can do that is by visiting www.fearlessfreedomnow.org. We have plenty of information there so that you can go online, get informed, stand in solidarity with us, support us as a fund, because the worst thing that can happen is that we lose this case and it has lasting implications. But as we have shared before, we're not scared, we're fearless, and we will prevail in this fight.
Hold tight 1 second. I'm going to a break. We come back. A couple of my panelists, they've got questions. Folks, we're talking to the leaders of the Fearless Fund, a fund out of Atlanta that focuses on Black women and people of color in the venture capital world. They are under legal assault from white conservatives like Ed Blum, who's trying to use a civil rights law of 1866 that was put in place to help Black people. He's now trying to actually use this against Black people. Dr. Larry Walker joins us on the show today. He, of course, is a professor, assistant professor, University of Central Florida. Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show out of Detroit. Larry, your question first for our two guests with the Fearless Fund.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Roland. I've seen you talked about obviously the importance of being on this show, this platform, and you've been on a number of different platforms over the last couple of days. And I want you to talk about the importance of letting, the Black community know about what the work you do and the assault that, Roland, and you highlighted, how important it is to get the word out to the Black community in terms of the importance of your work and what could happen based on this lawsuit.
Oh, it's a state of emergency. The Black community definitely needs to be aware of the work that we do for multiple reasons. First, our industry is 92% white male. There are very few Black female and male investors in the venture capital space. We need more people of color, more Black people as investors, because we do believe that if we can diversify the investors, we can actually even diversify the investments. So just from an industry speaking standpoint, it is crucial for people to know about this type of work in general and the industry. Regarding, of course, this attack and this lawsuit, this is a state of an emergency. This sets precedent for what is to come depending on the outcome of this case. That's how serious this is. This can have long-lasting generational effects if we don't get a hold of this right now and stop this.
Michael.
All right, Arian and Ayana. Thanks for coming on, sharing this information. So I read the articles from the Washington Post and Associated Press on this, and in the Washington Post, it said that according to the lawsuit, it says that the Fearless Fund is, quote, open only to Black females, end quote. But one of you stated that it's open to women of color and not exclusively for African-American women. Am I correct in what you said? Am I correct in what I heard?
Michael, you're absolutely correct. We invest in women of color. That's inclusive of Latinas. That's inclusive of Native American. It's inclusive of Asian and Black women. You're absolutely correct. And we did that because this demographic holistically is the most founded, yet the least funded demographic. We make up more than 20% of the U.S. population. And as we shared earlier, we receive less than half of 1% of venture funds.
So just a quick follow-up question. What is the legal foundation of his argument if in the lawsuit it misstates who you allocate the funds to?
That we can't get into.
That's
Yeah, we can't get into the lawsuit.
Well,
but we have the.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. They can't get into the lawsuit because obviously they're in the middle of it, Michael. Okay. Here's what there is no. I can say this. There is no legal argument. Here's the strategy that I need everybody to understand, and we've seen this already. By filing the lawsuit against the Fearless Fund, what they want to do is create pain, concern, dissension, and fear in the marketplace.
Right.
So, here's a perfect example. There was a conservative outfit in Virginia. What they were doing, they were sending letters to largely rural Black cities in Mississippi and Alabama and other places, saying that they had people on their voting rolls who were illegal. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, if you don't drop them, we're going to sue you. There were several cities that were so broke, they said, oh my God, we can't afford the lawsuit, so they changed. Now, they got busted when they got reported on, but they were being effective because they were using the legal argument. And you got to remember, this billionaire just gave the leader of the Fairless Society $1.6 billion to use any way that he wants. Leonard Leo is funding many of these conservative efforts, and so the strategy, and I'll let them speak in a second. But the strategy is not to actually win a lawsuit. The strategy is, by the fear of the lawsuit, is to cause people to literally stop and end any such programs in their place right now. That's the legal strategy. Go right ahead, Arian or Ayana.
Well, I think you pretty much said it best, or summed it up rather. This is not an attack on us. It's definitely to instill fear. I think that's the best way to sum it up. Of course, we can't get into the logistics of the lawsuit, but just by the filing suit on us, people have already started to adjust their programs, which is unfortunate. And it's just out of fear. They're not even being sued. They're just changing just because. And I'm like, oh, no, you need to stand up for what you believe in and what your programs are designed to do. They wouldn't exist if the disparities didn't exist. So they have to continue.
That's right.
And I know these are friends and these are clients, but I'm just going to say to the both of you, any of these companies that are all of a sudden getting skittish or pressing the pause button or changing as a result, please let us know, because here's the thing. These are the same companies that we as Black folks don't need to be supporting with our dollars. Because if they're not going to, and this is the point I keep making, if they are not going to stand up for us against these attacks, but they still want us buying their products, that's completely unacceptable. And this is the moment. Black folks have been fighting this fight forever, but this is the moment for white people, so-called allies, to stand with us and say, we are going to fight tooth and nail against every single one of these efforts, just like the white military leaders stood up and wrote letters to the Supreme Court and said diversity is in the national interest of the military. And that is why in that very affirmative action ruling, the Supreme Court said that it did not apply to the military academies because it's in the national interest.
Amen.
No, we agree.
I'm just saying. So
No,
go ahead.
We definitely agree with you wholeheartedly. Luckily, in our case, though, and this may be just an outlier, our investors are definitely continuing to invest. Our investors are definitely continuing to support. So we are in a position where those companies are definitely standing by this and their work. They are going to continue to do this work with us. But in the event there are any that are not, we have no problem letting you know.
Yeah, and I think what I would just add to that, Roland, is it's such an important point that you make, because we saw the whole racial reckoning in our country in the wake of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's murders and Ahmaud Arbery and all of these corporate commitments that were made. To Arian's point, luckily, our investors have stood beside us in this, but there are so many corporations that made these commitments and they need to follow through.
Well, Congresswoman Ayana Parsons, who we're going to have on the show soon, she actually has been pressing that issue as well. We've been saying the exact same thing. We've been pushing that. And again, look, we all know how these things work. Again, and it happens a whole lot. I've dealt this with other areas. There are people who say, hey, Roland, we can't say certain things or do certain things because, we have business ties or they might be our friends. Let me be real clear. I ain't scared to hit nobody. And I'm going to say this again. And I've been hitting all these companies. I've been hitting folks in all these areas. The biggest thing for me, I am not going to let people continue to reap the benefits of black dollars and then don't stand with black people. And if anybody is wondering why am I so adamant, that's literally what Dr. King said on April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple, when he made it perfectly clear. The one thing that we as blacks can do is economic withdrawal. The reality is black people have been putting money into this system. And in fact, when we talk about, and I need everybody to understand this here, the work that y'all are doing. When you talk about the $26 million in grants to companies, the $3 million through the foundation, everybody needs to understand the greatest source of venture capital, private equity money in America comes from pension funds. Mm-hmm. That means public workers. That means teachers, firefighters, police officers, people who work in the sanitation department. If you are black and you are watching and listening to this show, do understand your money, you are the financial backbone of the venture capital world. Mm-hmm. And so a significant number of these people, public workers, your money is going to essentially 90+% of white men in private equity. And when people keep saying, how do we change this? I keep saying you change it on that on that level. When they come to the pension funds, those states should be saying, no. How many black folks are y'all investing in? What black PE firms are y'all using? What black venture capital firms are using? If y'all want access to our pension funds, y'all better have a level of diversity. And that's why I believe the Ed Blums are also filing these lawsuits, because they know that's also coming. We've already seen that happen in California, in New York State, in the city of Chicago, and some other places where they've been saying, you're not going to come get our billions of dollars if you're not going to be investing in it, black people. Final comment from both of you.
Oh, I love that, because I always give that example of the PE industry, of PE and VC being backed by the pension funds, built by people of color, primarily in those careers. And then it goes up to the 92% white male, and then they invested in the white startups. And then very rarely does this money come all the way back down full circle into our community. So I love that example and that education, because people need to definitely be aware of that. But in my final thoughts or my final words on this interview, I definitely just want people to understand that this is a state of an emergency. Please sign the petition. We would love your data. We need to mobilize behind this, and we need to stop this in its tracks.
The only other thing I would add to that is that I just want our people to know that entrepreneurship is the pathway to economic freedom. And what Ed Blum is trying to do is he is trying to dismantle our economic freedom. Stock market won't do it. Home ownership won't do it. Entrepreneurship is the way to wealth creation, and that is why the Fearless Fund exists. So visit www.fearlessfreedomnow.org to join in our fight. Thank you so much, Roland, for having us.
All right. Keep us abreast of what happens, and we will set the course as well. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, going to go to a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk more about this. All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Larry and Michael, they're on our panel today. Michael, I'll start here with you. I'm really trying to get people, when you start talking about numbers, okay, when you heard those sisters talk about less than 0.5% of the VC money go to black women, total less than 2% go to black people, period. Federal government spends $560 billion a year on contracts. Black people get 1.67%. $322 billion a year is spent in the advertising space, or will be spent in 2023. 1% goes to black-owned media. We can walk this thing through states. Some are better than others. But the reality is, when you go to pull up any of these states, when it comes to the money, it's typically 0.5, 1, no more than 2%, maybe 3%. So what white folks like Ed Blum and Stephen Miller, what they have done, they got these other white folks running around here thinking, oh my God, they're getting all the money, they're getting all these resources. Look at all of these programs for them. Well, let's be real clear. The reason you have these programs for black people and other people of color is because white folks have frozen us out of the process. Hell, I don't know anybody black who would like to say, do we have to have a black fellowship program? Well, sure. How about if we don't have it? White folks, if you don't block us from the programs, no need to create something separate. That's why these initiatives were created, because of white racism and Jim Crow.
Absolutely, Roland. And I hear people make those types of comments when we have these type of discussions. And what you have here is that African Americans in general have largely been miseducated when it comes to money, miseducated when it comes to business, as well as history. Because some of those same people, their answer to everything is give us reparations, but they don't know how to make legal arguments for reparations. Okay, so a couple quick things here. One, I'm glad you mentioned pension funds. Okay, because and one of the examples I give when I teach is in 2017, in June of 2017 in New York City, the city employees in New York City divested $48 million in pension funds that they found out were invested in 3 privatized prisons. And oftentimes we're financing our own dehumanization and don't know it through 401k plans and pension funds. I'm not against either one, but we can choose where the money's invested. So they were educated and found out that they could divest their money from the 3 privatized prisons, and they did this. So what a lot of people who are watching right now, if you have 401k plans or pension funds, you can call your benefits manager tomorrow and find out where your money is invested. And if it's invested in organizations or corporations that are doing harm to African Americans, you can move it into other organizations that are more beneficial or do less harm? Number one. Number two, very quickly, I know Ed Blum said laws must apply equally to every racial and ethnic group in the country. So I'm wondering if he's going to sue on behalf of African Americans because we only get 1.1% of the $214 billion in venture capital funding that was distributed.
Hell no!
So my thing is like, wait a second, hold on. We need to flip this around because in 2020, from the Trump administration, white farmers got $26 billion in COVID-19 funding, but African-American farmers got $26 million, 1/10 of 1%. This is something that John Boyd has talked about on this show before. So I'm like, well, wait a second, hold on. If you're saying that laws must apply equally to every racial and ethnic group in the country, then why aren't you suing on behalf of African-Americans?
Because Ed Blum don't give a damn about black people. He is all about white people, Larry. White people.
Yep. So, Roland, I coined the term, grievance extremism. It's essentially what we have, particularly on behalf of, a lot of white males, and Blum is certainly an example among the other individuals we highlighted are funding these initiatives. And look, Roland, we got to call this out for what it is. And they talk about in the white fear, this is just a response into perceived black progress. President Obama, the racial awakening, all the other things last couple of years that have occurred, that certain news platforms like Fox have been kind of that shape and mold the minds of, whites throughout the country, not only, a middle class, those who struggle and those from affluent backgrounds kind of believe the idea that black people have made so much progress that we're on the same, we're equal footing, so to speak. But the reality is that black folks in 400 plus years have been trying to level the playing field, but playing catch up. And we're no even close when it comes to economic development and growth, particularly we call investment in black communities. And so you're right, Roland. This is just another example from trying to use the bully pulpit, so to speak, to try to create fear among, like you talked about, a lot of these Fortune 500 companies that you highlighted earlier that they're supporting this initiative. But the bottom line is it's all hands on deck, Roland. We have to make sure, and we're seeing this with this particular fund, but we have to make sure that black folks understand what's happening. How could it have a long-term impact in terms of economic viability in our community? And we have to prepare to attack these folks using all means necessary. And we have to be aware that at every level, whether it's higher education, venture capitalists, wherever, we're under attack, and we have to be prepared to support initiatives to make sure black folks can thrive.
And see, Michael, again, I think that what often happens when these things come up, there are people, and what they'll say, well, I mean, look, I'm just a regular person. I'm just out here just trying to do my job. This stuff doesn't really impact me. It doesn't have any impact on me. Well, actually, this is where they're wrong. Because if you're trying to start a business, where are you going to get the money from? Mm-hmm. So if we start talking about black banks, CDFIs, black credit unions, things along those lines, guess what, y'all? Who do you think are making loans? And so it has an impact. What we also know is that if you're African American and you're starting a business, it's a great chance you're going to be hiring other black people.
Right.
So when we are frozen out of the venture capital private equity dollars, then we don't have an ability to be able to achieve scale and grow our businesses, hire more people. So again, I just keep telling people this is very basic. Very basic. If I look at the numbers, right now. So let's say we here at Black Star Network, say we do $3.5, maybe $4 million this year. Got about 15 people. If all of a sudden we start getting real advertising contracts, let's say go to $50 million in revenue. Let's say we grow the business and we go out and we hire 50, 60, 70, 75 people. Let's say 75 people. That's 60 more people right now. That's 60 more people with families, individuals who are now going to be able to get paid, buy homes, send kids to college. And so that is what Ed Blum is attacking. And so when you start attacking black economic creation, black wealth creation, or creating the ability to start companies, then you are impacting every single black person, top to bottom, from employee to spouse to children to nieces and nephews, and you're impacting the black institutions that those individuals can then contribute to. So that means that they're HBCU graduates, and we have the ability to hire them. They now are making the means to give back to their schools, to give back to black organizations, to give back to the building the black community. That's why I need people to understand that they are attacking what is literally has created and funded the entire black ecosystem, and they want to bring that down. That is their strategy.
Absolutely, Roland. And this goes back to our dear sister, who's now an ancestor, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, who I knew and interviewed on the African History Network show. She said, if you do not understand European white supremacy and racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you think that you understand will totally confuse you. Most of us have never really been educated on what you're explaining, what you're breaking down. I'm a historian, degree in business administration. I totally understand this. I've managed African-American owned companies and we had numerous employees, okay? 95% of African-American owned businesses only have one employee. So a lot of our people have never been taught this. But very quickly here, back a few years ago, you hosted something called the State of Black America. And you had Reverend Al Sharpton, you had Susan from Essence, and you had Susan Taylor from Essence and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. In that same year, I think it may have been about 20.
Yeah, that was in Indianapolis. Yeah, in Indianapolis.
Yep. Okay, and you broadcasted it here on your network. Now that same year, Reverend Al Sharpton had an initiative with National Action Network to educate African Americans about their pension fund dollars and where their pension fund dollars were being invested. And one of the things he was explaining is that money managers will loan our pension fund dollars to white business developers. Those white business developers will take our pension fund dollars, come into our communities, develop our communities, and gentrify us out of our own communities. So once again, this is going back to how we really have not been taught how we finance our own dehumanization. So we have to understand how this system works all together. So this can go to real economic empowerment as opposed to us just being sold entrepreneurship classes that benefit the person who's teaching the entrepreneurship class.
You know, Larry, I mean, the thing that sort of irks me is when I hear people go, man, Biden-Harris ain't done nothing for black people. But they turn around and turn around and go, man, we need to buy land. Donald Trump didn't give a damn about no money going to black farmers and Hispanic farmers. That was passed under Biden-Harris and by Congress. That's trying to save black institutions. Mm-hmm. Who are the people funding Ed Blum? White Republicans. Who's funding Leonard Leo? White Republicans. Who are the people who are giving lavish gifts to Clarence Thomas so he can vote their way in the Supreme Court? White Republicans. The very same white Republicans are supporting the white Republican politicians who are trying to screw us over in state legislatures and Congress. So when I hear black people, like that fool who stopped me at Dave Chappelle's show in New York, man, you need to be telling our folk to vote Republican. Why in the hell am I going to tell our people to vote for our oppressors? Now, let me be real clear. I'm in no way saying that Democrats have been perfect, have been amazing, and oh my God, but I'm being very clear. The very people who are funding Ed Blum's lawsuit against the Fearless Fund, who funded his affirmative action lawsuit, are the very same people funding Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump and Tim Scott and Nikki Haley and Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Paul Gosar and Jim Jordan, the Republicans in North Carolina, the legislature in Tennessee, the legislature in Florida, the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, Tate Reeves, the governor of Mississippi, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas. We could go on and on and on. It's the exact same people. And this, Larry, is a direct assault on the future viability, the future economic and educational viability of black people. Whether your ass is black, African American, your ass call yourself FBA, ADOS, I don't care what you call it, these people these billionaires are funding the direct attacks on black people and our children and our children's children.
Roland, you make some very important points, and related to some of the folks you highlighted, what essentially they're talking about doing, not even realize, some of them are not realizing, some are digging our own grave. And it's really important that folks understand, you highlighted some really key points in terms of particularly legislators in various states. I'm certainly now, currently in the belly of the beast, so to speak, but it's really important that folks understand these are anti-black policies. And it's not, like I said a few minutes ago, it's not you. And these folks are thinking strategically. They're thinking generational. Just like with the Roe v. Wade, fight for Roe v. Wade the last couple of decades, Republicans spent decades leading up to the moment where they had put the right justices in place to overturn Roe v. Wade. So we have to make sure that Blum and folks in various, states, you talk about Texas, certainly Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, et cetera, all these other jurisdictions throughout the United States. Once again, this all-out assault on, kneecapping black folks economically, making sure that all people don't have the opportunity to learn about African-American history, particularly when we talk about issues relating to Jim Crow and how black folks, were enslaved. They also don't want to talk about in terms of what it means for this country, a democracy, to continue for hundreds of years to limit the opportunities that black folks have to make sure they can actually live what we call, quote unquote, the American dream. But the bottom line is, if we don't talk about this in barbershops and beauty salons, et cetera, people don't get on board, then over the next couple of months leading into the 2024 election, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. We need black folks to come out to vote. And we also, this is an all-out assault on our rights. And we have to make sure we're ready starting today.
All right, then. Let me say this real quick. Somebody, okay. What the hell? This is so stupid. Roland Martin, your eyes are too red. Calm down, because you will not stop this movement that's taking place. Well, Ali Muhammad, you stupid. Because see, here's what you need to understand. We're stopping what's going on. We're going to stop. See, here's what this nutcase Muhammad don't understand. The reason black people have not been more effective at organizing and mobilizing is because our black-owned media outlets have done what Dr. King said that we should not do. So since some of y'all don't know what the hell y'all talking about, Let me just go ahead and read it to you. And I've read this before, but I have to sometimes remind y'all. King wrote in Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? He said that there are 4 institutions that are positioned to liberate Black America. 4. In fact, this was what he actually said. There are already structured forces in the Negro community that can serve as the basis for building a powerful united front. The Negro Church, the Negro Press, the Negro fraternities and sororities, and Negro professional associations. He said we must admit that these forces have never given their full resources to the cause of Negro liberation. He said, quote, too many Negro newspapers have veered away from their traditional role as protest organs agitating for social change and have turned to the sensational and the conservative in place of the substantive and the militant. What this little whatever person don't understand is that Black folks, when your eyeballs are stuck on Zeus Network, right, where you watching Negroes fighting each other, you ain't got no clue that all these white folks are watching Fox News, where they're organizing, mobilizing politically to shut everything that we have down. See, when you have all these Black bloggers and Black websites and Black media outlets focusing on Sukahani and what in the hell she doing, and entertainment and this housewife and what this person does. See, that has been the biggest mistake that we have allowed ourselves. We have allowed our aunts, uncles, mamas and daddies, grandmamas and granddaddies, nieces and nephews, sons and daughters, sorority sisters, fraternity brothers, friends, associates, church members, and colleagues, to be so distracted by entertainment and sports bullshit and not the stuff that is having a direct impact on our future survival or the ability to thrive.
Yeah. Hey, Roland.
So the reality is we're going to continue to inform. We're going to continue to educate. We're going to continue to shine a light on this. And if nobody else is doing it, that's not my problem. But I can guarantee you that's what we're going to do, and we're not going to stop. I got to go to a break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what's happening in Tennessee, how they're trying to shut down again Black representation, how Republicans in North Carolina are trying to screw over Black people again, and the governor says it when he vetoes the latest steal the vote bill. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
And this is about attacking African-American elected officials who are standing up for their communities and trying to push legislation that is beneficial for their communities. And, you know, in the previous segment, we mentioned Dr. King, and you read from page 132 of his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. But also, April 3rd, 1968, Dr. King talked about we have to always anchor our external direct action with the power of economic withdrawal. And what's missing here, and this ties into when you named all the Republicans who were financed by the Republican billionaires, the top 3, 4, 5 corporations that are financing the Republicans in Tennessee, Jim Jordan, all these other Republicans, Kevin McCarthy. There has to be nationwide economic boycotts of those 3, 4, 5 top corporations, okay, to redistribute the pain through targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies, which is what Dr. King preached. Okay, so yes, vote them out, but the election is not till November 2024. Okay, we can vote with our dollars, and that when you put economic pressure on those corporations that put these Republicans in place, you can better push your agenda, because they're going to pick up the phone when they're losing too much money. These corporations, they're going to pick up the phone and tell them, look, you need to vote this way, because they tell them to vote the other way that's beneficial to the people who are paying them. So we have to understand how all this works. Also, if you like this type of information, be sure to visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. You can register for the online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Scroll down the page as information about our radio show, Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my social media platforms and Blog Talk Radio. Saturdays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I teach my flagship online history class. It's a 12-week online course. Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors, and the Ma'af, for understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. The course is on sale. It's more than half off. It's on sale only $60. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. I do a PowerPoint presentation with book references. There's 15 books every reference, 80 to 100 articles. We have video clips. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. So even after the class is over with, even after the 12-week online course is over with, you still have full access. You can go back and watch it a year from now, 2 years from now. You can watch the entire course. The content is PG-13. You can use this with your family, use this with your children. We have some video clips here to give previews of the class also that you can watch and then register for the course. And then on Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I teach Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. We go through a look at history chronologically from 1800 to 1968, 1970. And we highlight Black resistance movements, and we see what leads to the Civil War taking place. We studied the Civil War, Reconstruction, 1865, 1877. Great Migration, World War I, World War II, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, and the Jim Crow era. Okay, to understand what happened to us after slavery ended, what were the laws and policies put in place to bring us to where we are today, to understand where we need to go from here. And your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history, especially the last 500 years of history. Okay, so you can register for those classes at our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Also, if you want to support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. And when you click right here, it takes you right to our QR code for Cash App. $ the AHN show, SHOW. When you go to it, it'll say Michael. And this helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, keep financing the African History Network. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Turn on live notifications so you know when we go live, and follow me on Instagram as well at Michael Imhotep on Instagram. All right, hopefully you learned a lot today. Remember, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.
Is your child struggling with reading, writing, learning loss, and a culturally irrelevant curriculum? Do you want your child to be outstanding at reading and writing and also take pride in their culture? Then you want Reading Revolution Online. Reading Revolution Online is a web-based reading support program. We serve scholars in grades K through 8, and through our innovative approach, we help them build reading confidence and cultural identity development, equipping them for success in school and life. They learn about Black heroes and sheroes through captioned videos, reading selections, and other activities. Reading Revolution Online is an experience for the whole family. Do it for the culture. Go to readingrevolution.org and get your membership today.